Why are you such a good villain?
It's just an opportunity to make you feel for the people that otherwise you wouldn't normally feel for.
Some actors blend in. Walton Goggins doesn't.
I'm not a passive person. I'm relatively intense.
He doesn't just enter a scene, he hijacks it. His presence is unmistakable.
You've got a fantastic set of chompers right there. You got a great smile.
The wide, alert eyes, the erratic rhythm of his speech, the molasses-thick southern accent that can smooth talk you into a false sense of comfort before hitting you with something sharp.
I'm not a cowboy, but I can pretend to be a cowboy with the best of them.
No. You done got me talking politics.
There's a rawness to how he moves through a scene. Not polished, not rehearsed, but lived in.
Comedies or dramas or movies or TV shows. It's the sum total of all of them that led to this moment.
And that's the part that people are finally starting to talk about. For years, he was the guy who made you stop and ask, wait, who is that?
You're crazy, man.
Always the most memorable part of the frame, but rarely the one the story revolved around.
And it took that kind of gritty storytelling, I suppose, for people like me to get a shot.
He was an actor who made you feel uncomfortable in the best way because there was always more going on beneath the surface than you were being shown. And when a role finally gave him the space to stretch out, he didn't waste a second.
Look who it is.
This mother.
He started off like most great character actors do, climbing through small budget films and one-off TV gigs.
I'd been fortunate enough to do movies for a number of years, but anything really in television and network television, which was really kind of the only game in town, I don't have a face for that. People didn't look at me back then, people barely look at me now and think like, yeah, that guy's perfect for Beverly Hills 90210. Yeah, we'll take him.
Quietly building a resume that most casting directors couldn't ignore. But The Shield was the turning point. Shane Vendrell was volatile and unpredictable.
It was sacrilegious to even contemplate telling a story like this.
The hillbilly's been listening to my speeches.
It's too bad about your son, though. Tell you what, my little boy turned out to be a I don't know what I would do.
But Goggins found ways to make him feel human. You believed him as the kind of guy who could cause chaos 1 minute.
At the time, it was either him or the rest of us.
And beg for forgiveness the next.
But you know I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, man.
His unraveling was slow, painful, and earned. It's rare to see a character both loathed and mourned, but Shane landed somewhere in that uncomfortable middle.
Lem was my friend.
He was mine, too!
And Justified gave him even more room to breathe. Boyd Crowder isn't just a career-defining role, it's a masterclass in complexity.
They came back after testing the show, and the audience said, oh, that guy, you can't kill that guy.
That's twice you've disrespected her in my presence. Don't let it happen a third.
Goggins played him with a kind of intellectual swagger.
I am impressed. How is it possible you're not in cuffs?
A working-class philosopher with the Messiah complex.
You do exactly what I say, when I say it. It's the only way I can keep us all alive.
He could talk circles around everyone, but half the time, you weren't sure if he believed what he was saying, or if he just wanted to sound smarter than he felt. And when he shared a scene with Timothy Oliphant, it wasn't just dialogue, it was psychological warfare.
I ain't going anywhere. They killed my daddy.
You came here to kill your daddy yourself.
Well, that's different.
Did you do something you shouldn't have?
Well, that's a pretty low bar, Raylan.
You didn't need action when you had those two locking eyes.
Regardless of their life choices, they dug coal together and they struggled together. It was antagonistic in each other's company, but the antagonism had an underlying love to it.
I like the suit.
Goggins' performances demand your attention. You feel it in how he carries pain without announcing it.
You never really knew my brother Bowman, did you, Raylan? Gone down in his prime by the very hand of the woman I now share his roof with.
How he lets silence stretch just long enough to make the audience nervous. There's calculation, but it's not mechanical. It's instinctive.
I guess this is where we say, may the best man win.
And it's why his recent work as the Ghoul in Fallout lands with such weight.
When it comes to leadership these days, dangerous is what they call a prerequisite.
On paper, it's a wild concept. A disfigured bounty hunter who's lived over 200 years. Part cowboy, part crypt keeper. But Goggins isn't playing it for laughs or leaning into the absurdity. He plays it tired, worn down, haunted, and that's what makes it land.
If you need any more evidence, I can tell you about this town I just shot up. Philly?
My daddy lives in Philly.
Well, not no more he don't, unless he's a coward.
The Ghoul is a character shaped by time, too much of it. And Goggins shows us that with with every sigh, every pause between words, every half smirk that never quite becomes a smile. He doesn't lean into the cool factor, he leans into the erosion, the toll of having seen too much, having survived too long, and outlived everyone who mattered.
This is an extraordinary opportunity to play the same person at two very different times in their life.
Even under layers of makeup and prosthetics, his performance still feels naked. It feels honest, and that's not an easy trick to pull off.
You are inserted into an authentic representation of the world. I wasn't concerned about the player's experience at all. I'm concerned about the person that I'm playing.
It's the same quality he brought to The Hateful Eight, where he played Chris Mannix, a man with awful views and even worse judgment.
The President of the United States?
Yes.
Of America?
Yes.
Who somehow ended up the last man standing. Goggins didn't sand off the rough edges, he leaned into them. He made Mannix frustrating, repellent, and strangely sympathetic.
And it was like I'd been saying those words my whole life. That's how good Quentin's dialogue is.
He didn't try to redeem him. He just played the man as he was, a walking contradiction. And by the end, when he's bleeding out beside Samuel L. Jackson,
Can I see that Lincoln letter?
you weirdly care what happens to him. Same story with Vice Principals. Lee Russell is, on paper, a cartoon villain, but Goggins brought so much underlying insecurity and desperation to the role that you start to see the cracks.
They're gonna choke on the wrapper.
I don't give a about these ducks.
He played him as a man obsessed with control because, deep down, he knows he has none.
So why are you gay?
I'm not.
You laughed at him, sure, but you also recognized him. That's the Goggins magic. He holds up a mirror, and whether you like the reflection or not, you can't seem to look away. But what really sets Goggins apart is the sense that he's lived. There's nothing theatrical about his work. He's not pretending. His characters always carry history in their posture, memory in their pauses. He brings a sort of unspoken backstory to everything he does. You never feel like he's reading from a script. You feel like you're watching a guy who survived something, even if you don't know what it is. And that's a rare thing. You can't teach that. You just either have it or you don't. And this might come from his own life experience.
It has to be rooted in life.
And because of the thing that had happened in my own life, I had a real empathy for his journey.
He's spoken about losing his father at a young age, about the years of hustling in LA, barely scraping by.
When I first moved to Los Angeles, I had $300 in my pocket. I didn't make a lot of money, but I did have my freedom.
You get the sense he never really fit the mold. Too wiry to be a leading man, too intense to be background noise.
Please let me send this ugly son of a to hell.
But that discomfort with being typecast is exactly why he works. He doesn't fit, so he redefines the role. And while he's a master of damaged, morally gray men, he also knows how to hold tension without saying anything. Watch how he reacts in group scenes.
You didn't count on the two of us.
He doesn't steal focus, but you notice him. That's hard to do. It's presence, not volume. A skill built over time, and Goggins has spent a lot of time studying the room. He's also a producer, which explains a lot about his intentionality. He doesn't just show up and say lines. He thinks in arcs and in themes. You see it in the kind of stories that he gravitates to. Narratives about survival, identity, pride, collapse, and reinvention.
I'm not playing an idea of someone. I have to exist in the world in my mind.
There's a through line across his work, even if the genre shifts. He's fascinated by people on the brink, and he plays them like they've already seen the other side. And he's influencing a new wave of character actors. The industry is finally catching on to what he represents. Not a type, but a blueprint. Proof that there's space in the mainstream for actors who don't chase likability.
I am grateful to be known for all of it and none of it.
The guy's even got range that most people haven't fully clocked yet. He just lets the tension sit in the space between lines. And he's never relied on vanity. That might be the most refreshing part.
A team of people show up every day and pour their hearts into it. I have met many different people over the course of the life that I've been given an opportunity to live. Meeting new people and my new milieu is so special.
Goggins doesn't mind being ugly on screen, morally, physically, or emotionally. That lack of self-protection gives his work an edge. You feel like you're watching someone who's not afraid to fail in public. That kind of risk doesn't get enough credit, especially in an industry where so many performances feel overly manicured. He also has an underrated ability to shift tones without losing momentum. He can go from absurdist comedy to bleak realism in a single beat.
Ain't nobody on my head, bushwhacker. You let me die, that's murder.
And it never feels forced. That tonal flexibility is what keeps his performances from ever going stale. It's like he's constantly tuning his instrument to whatever the scene needs, without losing his own voice. And maybe most important, he respects the world around the character. Whether it's a southern backwater, a post-apocalyptic wasteland, or a petty high school turf war, Goggins never acts like he's above it. He immerses, he adapts, he becomes a part of the terrain, and in doing that, he helps the world feel real. He helps it feel lived in, which is exactly what storytelling needs more of.